Hello, beings of light. I want to give a little introduction to this grid healing work that so many of us are doing, many of us without even realizing we're doing it. My guides have told me that approximately 50% of the population on Earth right now is doing grid healing work, and of that 50%, only 1% is aware that they're doing this. And those of us who do this have been doing it probably our whole lives. Probably not many of us realize that from an early age. I know I didn't. But this is part of our awakening process, is realizing that we're doing this, and so we can do it in a more powerful, more conscious way. How do you do it without realizing it? Well, we all have our origin coming from source. It's where we all come from. Back down the line, whatever we've been through, whatever parallel existences we have, whatever other dimensions we've lived in or live in, we all have one origin source. And source is basically light, and we carry source light within us. And we all have unique source light codes within us, even if we're not doing this kind of earth healing grid work. There's all kinds of work being done by all kinds of light workers, and it's part of what makes everybody unique. We have these unique codes. When we meet other people, we're exchanging light codes with them. This might be why you're more attracted to some people than others. Your codes are a match. What is a code? It's kind of like a key, and it fits into a lock somewhere. Like the lock, there might be a lock for a code you have somewhere in the earth at a specific place or within another person. So we have source light within us, and it's kind of diffused through different filters, you might say. Like just your own unique soul blueprint is kind of a filter for source light, and you're bringing it through to this earth plane. Lots of people have filters for just working on people, healing people. Some people only work on land and on the planet, and some do both. Some work on animals. Some don't really do healing work, at least directly, but make art and music, and that is totally healing work as well, and you're bringing through codes when you do that as well. But for Earth grid healing, Gaia grid healing, grid keeping, gatekeeping, whatever you want to call it, we are bringing through codes from our other aspects or parallel lives or whatever resonates with you. Maybe that doesn't, but I know that personally I'm bringing codes from Andromeda and Pleiades, Arcturus, and Sirius. Some people bring codes from the angelic realm. Some people come right from source, and that's awesome. Any way that you are is perfect. Just know that. So, what are we actually doing? Well, first of all, there is a false grid system on the earth that we have been humanity's sort of been trapped in it in a way, in a sense. We're not victims here, but we're just now, a lot of us, coming into awareness that this has been going on for a very long time. There were some dark beings, some dark energies who saw Earth, this beautiful planet, with an amazing fifth dimensional blueprint and grid system, crystalline grid system surrounding it and on its surface. They wanted to have control of this place and have it for their own, and have the humans that were there be their slaves, essentially, doing their work for them. And so they kind of enslaved humanity by creating a false grid matrix system. And the 5D one never went away. This grid, at the time when Atlantis and Lemuria fell, and other civilizations like those that we don't even know about, right? They fell from the fifth dimension down into the third, where we are still kind of partially still stuck today, right? And we're getting out of it and going back up. The ascension process that we are all participating in right now is what we refer to this as. And The third dimensional grid is a a system of false highways or pathways, like meridians in your body. That's what the grid really is. It's like the Earth's meridian system and chakra system. And what they did is they created a false system. These beings who were actually extraterrestrials who had not so harmful intentions for humanity and for Earth, working through humans, right? And they created this false overlay and placed it over the 5D one at the time that these old civilizations fell. So the 5D grid went into the center of the Earth. It's still there. It's just kind of like the way I perceive it as it's condensed. And at this time in our existence, it's such an exciting time because it's blooming, it's coming back out. It's replacing the false structure that we've been living in, that we've been fooled by all this time. It's breaking, it's dissolving and dismantling these false pathways, highways, meridians, where energy has been flowing in a way that traps us in and manipulates us. And we're realizing this, waking up to this, and clearing it, and intentionally with our codes bringing forth this 5D grid from within the Earth, inside of the Earth. So as above, so below, right? So there's this like condensed version of the 5D grid inside the Earth that's emerging right now. And we also have a lot of help from above, from other realms, from angelic and the beneficial, benevolent ET realms as well, right? And from Source. So the 5D grid surrounds the planet as well. It's like a hologram of the same one that's inside the Earth. So it's almost like we're sandwiching the false grid between these two crystalline versions of the 5D grid. I made a little diagram. So if this circle, the darker circle here is the Earth, the planetary body, this is like the condensed 5D grid inside. These dark circles are supposed to represent the 3D false matrix grid. And this is like rays expanding outward, and say we're standing here on the surface, right? And we're clearing portals for these rays to come through from within as well as from above. So this is the outer 5D grid, the higher up one, right? This is just the way that I perceived it. A lot of people might see it differently. Everybody's got unique codes for that. I was able to see this while under a hypnotic trance state. I do this type of work as well, hypnosis work. And I was the client at the time, and I saw this, and I saw my role as a grid worker on the Earth's surface, kind of bringing in light through my head and feet to, using my own body as a portal to clear the old false 3D grid and to put the 5D one back in place. And we're all spread out over the globe, all of us with our unique codes, doing this work in different ways. Some of us know we're doing it, some don't. Some are just waking up to it, and that's wonderful. I'm so excited for you. So the reason that there are two 5D crystalline grids and just one 3D grid is that the 5D grid is multi-dimensional. It's 5 dimensions and more. It's infinite dimensional. It's going to keep expanding once it's fully in place. And it's here. We're just anchoring it here. So it's kind of like a sandwich with the 3D grid in the middle, because when these beings created this false grid, they were using it to harvest our energy and, turn us into a slave race, essentially. And they kind of like spliced it in half and had to put this false thing in between so that we couldn't really see. Like, we're inside of it. It's like a big greenhouse. It's like if we could just see what's on the other side of it, we would be blown away, but we would also remember. And actually, my guides gave me a really great analogy for this. I was shown, like, we're like these lightning bugs or these fireflies, right? We're like these magical little beings flying around, and they see us and they're like, oh, look at those things. Those look like they could be fun. So they trapped us in a jar and created this false environment inside the jar, like put some sticks and leaves in there for us and fooled us into thinking that that was nature and then that was our world, and there's nothing beyond this small glass jar. But really there's so much out there, and we just forgot. You know, we've been in this jar so long, we don't even remember what it was like before we were in the jar, and remember the amazing world that is outside of the jar that is so much better and more expansive and more magical and unlimited, and how much potential there is there, and just how much easier it is out there, you know, in some ways, right? It's probably easier in other ways to stay asleep and stay stuck, and that's why a lot of people are choosing to stay that way, at least for now. Everybody will come around. There's nothing to worry about. You know, just by emitting your frequency and your light, you're helping them shift. And it's much more effective to do it that, you know, to help them in that way than to try to use words. As a lot of us have seen, right, with all the polarity. But just know that you're doing it, you're helping. You know, everywhere that you travel to or everywhere you've ever lived, you are working on that spot. A fun thing to do, a little exercise you could do, just to see what you've really been doing, is to take a piece of paper and write down where you were born and everywhere that you've ever lived and visited. And you might notice some patterns and some connections. For example, for me, I was born in a very dark place, a little town with like a lot of just super dense, dark energy, cults, racial tension, just extreme fighting, and just a lot of crime for a small area. Also a lot of strange, mysterious, possibly underground activity, you know, mysterious things. Sometimes it would be in the actual mainstream news and then totally disappear, and like, what happened to that? And I didn't enjoy living there at all, but I, now looking back, can see that I was working on that place. And a lot of places that I've traveled to also were super dense, a lot of former Soviet places. And I finally realized just this past year, about a year and a half ago, that I was clearing energy in these places. And something else that came through in my hypnosis session was that I have a huge team working with me doing this, a team of guides that are specific for this kind of work. And anyone else who's doing this has that as well. And we just need to remember them and connect with them, call them in, and, you know, even if we feel nothing at first, just trust that they're there, because they are, and they've been with you all along. Another thing that came through was that the most sacred and powerful places on earth that we currently know of, like pyramids, stone circles, the chakra points, you know, some of the big mountains and ancient structures, these are like, when you visit there, you kind of get a glimpse of what life in total 5D in this new earth will feel like. And that's not the only way you can catch a glimpse of that. There, you can sit right in your own home and get that as well in other ways. But another thing that came through was that some of the densest places on this earth are going to become the new power spots. And the current power spots will still be just as powerful. In fact, they'll be more powerful because they are being re-energized and reactivated by us, the grid workers, grid healers, all the time. And we're going to have even more powerful places on Earth, more vortexes, ley lines. So a ley is actually an object on a ley line, such as a stone circle or a pyramid, that holds special energy. And the reason those things were built there is because some ancient people could feel that energy and they wanted to enhance it. So they were guided to build these structures. Many of them are gone and have disappeared and are waiting to re-emerge. but they were used for harmful intentions to be carried out towards other humans. Places that we don't even know about, we can't even see. My guides have told me that Chernobyl is one of these places, and you can disagree if you want, but this is just what came through my filter, and I saw myself going there someday to help re-energize that spot. There's a lot of density that needs to be cleared, obviously, there, and it manifested as radiation and a giant explosion, right? But there are other places like this, places that nobody wants to visit, places that feel terrible right now and just seem to have a dark cloud over them, but they are going to be clearing, and we are doing this work. And when they are clear, and when the light can go through, when that portal is reopened, it's going to be amazing. We're going to have this whole new grid system with like at least twice as many power points, vortexes, chakra points, the chakra system in general in the earth. More points are being activated. Just like in the human energy system, we were always told we had 7 chakras, and now many of us are activating or reactivating all the way up through our 12th and down through our Earth Star chakra. We'll talk more about that sometime. Yeah, and activating our power channel, right? Our central column of light that connects to us. It's like a tube of light going through your body. You're inside this tube of light, essentially. I have a little drawing for that too, actually. Here's Source up here. Here's your body in this tube of light. And there's the earth down here. And your feet are connected to the earth, and you've got this light flowing like a circuit through your body into the earth and up to Source all the time. And sometimes we forget and we let it get a little blocked. But if you just set that intention every time you think of it to reactivate and reopen and just re-empower and fill with light this channel, clear any blockage in the way, you're doing grid work right then and there, and you're working on your own energy system as well as the Earth's. So thank you for helping humanity. This is huge. This is so needed right now. The more people that remember that they're doing this, the more powerful it will be. You were born where you were born for a reason, even if you hate it there. Even if you're stuck in a place right now that you don't want to be and don't love, just hang in there. You know, meditate with that piece of earth. Find a place in nature that you can go. Nature's already in 5D. That's why humans love it so much. You know, that's why we feel so good outside. And yeah, you are doing more than you realize. You are clearing dark energy without taking it on. Don't worry about that. Call in your grid work guides. You've got this. You're so powerful, and you might not even know, or you might know, but I'm just here to remind you that you're doing it. You don't even have to try. And once you do try, once you do put in a little, you know, intention into your grid healing work, it's going to become that much more powerful. And, you know, we are all exactly where we are supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, and remembering and awakening at the exact perfect moment. So no worries. You're not late for anything. Just trust the timing and trust yourself. Trust your light and your guides. And just trust this process. It's definitely happening, even when we can't see it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here at this time. I appreciate every one of you, and I would love to hear about your awakening and your grid work and what you're doing specifically and where you're going and where you're living. I know we're spread out perfectly around the globe, so yes, thank you so much. Blessings.